Hello, my name is Lori Goodale Slusher, and this is my Words of a Leapster, Empathy in the Classroom. Today I'm going to tell you the story about why empathy does matter in the classroom. 3 benefits of empathy in the classroom, teaching with empathy, and using empathy in the classroom. Why does empathy matter in the classroom? When I was a student going to school, was back in the 1970s and 1980s, so it has been a few years since we are in the year 2024. But when I was in school, our elementary schools were a lot different than they are now. One of my favorite teachers in 6th and 7th grades, I would go make sure I do everything to get to their class every day because not only did they teach well, but they made me feel important as a student, and I felt like I could trust those teachers. I could ask questions without appearing foolish. In 5th grade, I had a teacher. I had undiagnosed attention deficit disorder, and at that time in the early 70s, girls didn't get attention deficit disorder. So what happened was I had that handicap going in, so my organizational skills were very, very bad. My executive functioning was bad. So instead of helping me and correcting and helping me to change those skills, I was shamed. And my 5th grade teacher just loved to shame me. And it was very embarrassing, and there were days I just didn't want to go to school because of the shaming and the judgment. So I don't want to influence or put that onto any of my students. My students these days, wow, they got a lot on their plates. Applying for colleges, making sure you have the right grades, making sure you have the right classes, and these are just the ones who are going on to college. I have a lot of students who are working outside of school to try to make money for the household so that they can afford to pay for groceries and things. I have students who have athletic commitments. They're very talented, and they spend a lot of time outside of class with those athletic commitments. And then there's the unwritten, unspoken about things that my students have experienced. We've had deaths in the family. We've lost brothers. We've lost parents. We've lost friends. We've just lost a lot of people. And that's really, really tough when you're a high schooler without a lot of experience. So my students also have social media to contend with. They have a lot of things that I didn't have to deal with as a student, and I want to take those into consideration when I'm teaching and when I'm communicating with my students. What are some of the benefits of having empathy in the classroom? Through empathy, students learn to understand each other, which helps them build friendships based on positive relationships of trust. Also, school programs that intentionally incorporate empathy in their curriculum have also seen better test results. As students learn empathy skills by communicating cross-culturally with their classmates, those skills transfer into their lives and into the lives of their communities. The deeper relationships that result from strong empathy skills have the potential to strengthen a community and build trust. The effects of community extend far beyond the walls of our classroom. Also, empathy helps us to prepare our students to be leaders in the community, because our students must be able to empathize with those whom they work with in order to feel valued. This validation will strengthen the trust between the student and their friends. As teachers, we must equip our students to be better leaders and be the future leaders of our community and beyond. Let's talk a little bit about teaching with empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is a way of connecting with other people that shows that we understand they're experiencing something meaningful, even though we may not understand exactly how it feels for them. In other words, empathy is about finding a way to connect and to be able to say, I want to understand how this feels for you and let you know you're not alone. Keep in mind that empathy isn't the same as sympathy. When you are sympathetic, you may feel sorry for students. Even though you may care deeply for your students, the sympathy may lead you to look down on students instead of trying to understand or connect with them. Being empathetic doesn't mean lowering your expectations. You can validate and have empathy for students while at the same time holding them to very high standards. In the moments you connect with students empathetically, you can reinforce your belief in their abilities to succeed. There are 4 parts to empathy. Perspective taking, looking at things from their angle versus your own angle. As a younger person, they have had different experiences than we have as older individuals. Number 2, I think is the most important, is putting aside judgment. I know a lot of us were brought up with judgment, and that reinforced how we did things or how we didn't do things. When teachers would shame us, we would realize, oh, bad thing, let's not do that. So we want to put aside judgment that, oh, that student's just lazy, they're not turning in their homework, when the student may actually be working 40 hours a week outside of the school day and just trying the best they can to keep afloat. And try to understand the students' feelings. Things are different now. People are different now. Be kind to the students. Don't bark. Don't lord an authority over them. Rather, talk to them as human beings, as people, and communicate that you understand what they are talking about. I know when one of my students comes with the death in the family, they all know that I have lost my son. And we all talk about grieving in different ways, and they know they can come to me and just talk, not expect anything. And they know I understand because I too have lost somebody extremely close to me. What are some other good reasons for using empathy in the classroom? It makes our students feel welcomed and accepted. It helps us become a safe space for them to be able to make mistakes. It also helps to motivate our students to learn. It helps the students to learn from their mistakes and realize mistakes aren't a bad thing. Mistakes are how we learn and how we grow. And it also encourages dialogue and the resolution of differences and conflicts. So how do I use empathy in my classroom? Number 1, mistakes are encouraged because we need to try different things. We need to try to solve our problems. Some ways are going to work to solve our problem. Some ways will not work. So making mistakes is just part of the problem-solving process. It's not a failure on anyone's part. It's just part of the way we do things. No one's bad at math. The way I look at it is their teachers may not have taught them in a way that they understood. And what I like to try to do with them is to show them that it's all just a big puzzle. And we're learning to solve these puzzles using certain steps. We can make sure that we get the correct result. No one in my class is ever talked down to. We are on an equal in the classroom. I do not lord over them as teacher supreme, but I do keep a position of authority in the classroom. And in keeping a position of authority, I don't talk down to my students, I talk to my students one-on-one. And also in my classroom, no one's allowed to bully. As soon as name calling starts, that stops immediately. I want my classroom as a safe place for you, no matter who you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what you do. I want you to feel welcomed in my classroom. How has empathy changed my classroom? One of the things I've noticed is better test scores from my students. And it builds better communication with the students. We don't just have to stay on a dry topic such as math. We can branch out into other things that make the math make sense. Also, it builds high levels of trust inside and outside the classroom. I know I've had students who've come to me when it hasn't been their class time just to talk, just to, hey, I need to vent on somebody. And it's very nice to be able to have that trust with my students that we can trust each other and we know it's not going to go any further than the two of us. And also, students aren't afraid of looking bad if they get a wrong answer. They know that it's just a good part of the learning process, and it's how making mistakes is how we build our building to solving that problem. This is my 5th period class. As you can see, we have all sorts of different people in our classroom. We have all grades in this class from 9 through 12. I have all different races. I have all economic categories. Haven't gotten into religion yet. But notice how the class gets along. Notice how everybody is able to work together. This was after we had finished an assignment, and they were just speaking with each other about the exit tickets. And we had some students who were already done and working on other classes' assignments, and we had some of our class just talking to each other about problem-solving strategies. And this is my 6th period classroom. At this time, we were asking everybody at their individual tables to start discussing ideas of how to do a problem that we were solving on the board. I love my classroom. I love my students. And I really like how we can communicate. We can talk to each other. And we know we're not going to yell at them. They know they're not going to be judged in our class. That we're doing things based on data. So the empathy in our class has been built over the year, and it really has paid off, especially now that we are in the 4th quarter. Some of my students are going to graduate and leave this year, while others I'll see in the next couple of years. Thank you for paying attention, and I'm so happy that you wanted to learn a little bit more about empathy in the classroom. This is one of my favorite memes I like to show to the students when they're starting to feel a little bit down, because this definitely epitomizes how I felt when I was a student. If you'd like to find out more about where I got the material for my presentation, just check out these references here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.